Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, February 26th. From the San Antonio Express-News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect a high of 61 degrees in San Antonio today with possible showers. You may want to keep an umbrella handy because there's a chance of rain throughout the weekend. Governor Greg Abbott is assessing when he may lift the statewide mask mandate he implemented last July to slow the spread of COVID-19. We have everything you need to know about vaccine distribution in Texas and what it means for safety precautions over at Express-News.com. This morning, the Express-News Editorial Board will meet with Mayor Ron Nirenberg, County Judge Nelson Wolff, and U.S. Representative Joaquin Castro to talk about the historic winter storm, power outages, and what should happen next. You can join us live at 10 a.m., and you can find a link to the meeting in this episode's description. And now let's move on to our top stories for the day. More than 50 Texas telephone companies and co-ops have sued the state's Public Utilities Commission for reductions it made in payments from a fund meant to guarantee phone service to rural residents. The lawsuit alleges the Texas Universal Service Fund shrank as a result of PUC's inaction, leading to a 70% cut in payments to phone service providers. The legal dust-up is more than a spat over a fund based on a 34-year-old legislation. It's part of a protracted battle between landline and wireless telephone companies, a sign of how technology is changing how people communicate and how laws are struggling to keep up. Brandon Lingo has more in our latest collaboration with Report for America. Texas lawmakers accuse the state's top utility regulator of not doing enough to head off the winter power outages that killed dozens of Texans and left millions more in the dark last week. Republican Senator Brandon Creighton says, quote, "I would contend you are choosing not to leverage the authority we have given you, and that is a serious problem." Speaking on the first day of public hearings on the crisis, Deanne Walker, chair of the Public Utilities Commission, insisted that her agency has little effective power over the group that manages the Texas electricity grid and cannot make electric companies invest in prepping for the right type of frigid conditions that crippled the state for several days. You can read more about how Walker's responses frustrated state lawmakers over at Express-News.com. Nearly 7 million Texans are struggling with hunger right now, a crisis that hasn't abated despite $3 trillion of federal assistance administered throughout the pandemic. With the state facing another food emergency after last week's brutal storms, and with unemployment rates still high, experts on food insecurity and advocates for low-income people say the next round of aid can't come soon enough. Yet, the $1,400 stimulus checks Democrats are pushing through Congress are a stopgap at best. That demand is still evident daily in San Antonio, where Eric Cooper, the CEO of San Antonio's food bank, has seen more than 625,000 individuals pass through the organization's food distribution locations. Find out why the CEO of Feeding Texas is worried about a food cliff over at Express-News.com. From Ethiopian and Eritrean to Jamaican and Southern vegan, the contributions of Black-owned restaurants to San Antonio's dining scene is vast. We have a map and guide to some of the area's most notable spots over at Express-News.com. Black Restaurant Week, originally scheduled to end Sunday, has been extended through March 7th. Participating businesses will donate $1 from the sale of each Black Restaurant Week dish to the San Antonio Food Bank. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside of your Express News subscription. The number of new COVID-19 cases in San Antonio is ticking up again after a steep drop amid the winter storm. We have a breakdown of the data that provides some insight into who is catching the virus and where. Texas officials are launching a new program to vaccinate homebound seniors, deploying 1,100 National Guard troops next week to reach vulnerable Texans who can't make it to a pharmacy or other vaccination site. The San Antonio Metropolitan Health District reported 4 new deaths from COVID-19 in the past 2 weeks, but officials say the outlook for getting more vaccine doses looks hopeful. Last year, ticket sales collapsed at two of San Antonio's biggest attractions, SeaWorld and Six Flags Fiesta Texas, and their parent companies hemorrhaged revenue as COVID-19 forced park closures and crowd restrictions. Last week's winter storm strained the Texas grid more than ever before, bringing it dangerously close to a black start event that could have taken weeks to fix, grid operators said during an emergency meeting. Natural gas production in Texas fell by almost half during last week's winter storm as power outages, bitter cold, and ice knocked out wells, processing facilities, and pipelines, according to a federal report. A former United Airlines pilot who served time in federal prison for posting online nude photos and a video of a flight attendant he previously dated has again been charged with stalking her. Edgewood ISD will restructure two of its schools this summer to finalize a pre-K through high school pipeline for students interested in a STEM-oriented education. The trailblazers of Texas's fledgling oyster mariculture industry are inching closer to establishing farms in the state's bay systems. The USAA Foundation has committed to donate $350,000 to 6 local and national nonprofits to assist families in Texas affected by last week's winter storm. A team of prosecutors tasked with checking the fairness of thousands of convictions obtained by the Bexar County District Attorney's Office has a new director. Matthew Howard is now in charge of the Conviction Integrity Unit, according to DA Joe Gonzalez. The Express-News Editorial Board writes, quote, "During a catastrophic emergency, people expect a senator to visit hard-hit areas, see how people are doing, comfort them, listen to them, and learn what they need to be a better advocate for them." Check out the full editorial over at expressnews.com. No team with a better record than the Spurs got shut out of next week's scaled-down All-Star festivities. And no player left at home has contributed as much to winning as DeRozan has, writes Mike Finger. Still, there's a bright side to the snub. Incumbent Ron Nirenberg didn't join 5 other candidates for the first mayoral debate this week at the Restoring Church. Columnist Gilbert Garcia's takeaway from the event? More weirdness than cogent analysis. Adji Gilas, an installation tucked into a corner of the Cowden Gallery of the San Antonio Museum of Art, includes 344 aluminum mugs, each with its designated spot. Installing the work created by Indo-Surinamese artist Daraj Ramzamej required close attention to a diagram provided to the museum's staff. The aluminum mugs are arranged on narrow slats in specific pattern. The title of the piece translates to Grandmother's Cup. It's intended as an homage to Ramzamej's grandmother. Read more about the piece over at expressnews.com. At first, swimming was Connor's thing. He was perfectly happy seeing his twin sister thriving as a gymnast and then a diver. Then, Lila Foote decided to give swimming a try when they were 10. The twins, now juniors at Alamo Heights, will compete against the best in the state when the UIL State Swimming and Diving Championships begin Friday. The mythical creature said to snack the blood of livestock is so entrenched in our culture, the San Antonio Zoo has an exhibit devoted to it. We have everything you need to know about the chupacabra, at least what they want us to know, over at expressnews.com. The 1984 thriller Cloak and Dagger would be hard to distinguish from TV shows of the era if it weren't for its star, a kid named Henry Thomas, known to everyone back then as Elliot from E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Read more about the family movie filmed here in San Antonio over at expressnews.com. Caribbean flavors of jerk chicken, oxtail and rice and peas from these spots add vibrant voices to Black Restaurant Week. We have everything you need to know about the Jerk Shack, Little Jamaica, and Real Jamaica over at expressnews.com. Until the Spurs' last-second 102-99 loss at OKC on Wednesday, LaMarcus Aldridge had started 1,030 consecutive games in which he had appeared, including the playoffs. This might become Aldridge's new normal in San Antonio. And that's all for today. This was your Express briefing for Friday, February 26th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.